Now this is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan.
That boy is Benny Hunter.
Cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So Ryan Poles is at it again with multiple reports out of Chicago. The first one being that the Bears have released running back Tarik Cohen per ESPN's Adam Schefter. Obviously, Tarik Cohen hasn't played since suffering an ACL tear back in September of 2020. Obviously, that was after we gave him that nice little 3 or 4 year extension for like $12 million. And this move saves the Chicago Bears about $2 million in cap space. And let me tell you something about Tarik Cohen. A healthy Tarik Cohen was absolutely electric. He added a dynamic ability not only to special teams, but to the offense. Unfortunately, his time in Chicago was kind of weird to me because, yes, he was very valuable in special teams, but Matt Nagy didn't really know how to use players like Tarik Cohen. Tarik Cohen could have been so much better and so much more productive for the Chicago Bears offense, but I just feel like Matt Nagy wasted Tarik Cohen's ability. Obviously, this move was expected. Tarik Cohen hasn't played since 2020, and he is expected to be healthy, but this was the correct move by Ryan Poles as he's starting to retool this Chicago Bears roster. The next move that Ryan Poles made today was the Bears released linebacker Danny Trevathan. This was also an expected move. This move will save the Bears about $3.3 million in cap space, and I'm pretty sure these moves won't become official. They're going to put a post June 1st on these moves, so that way they are able to save $3.3 million in cap space. Once again, Danny Trevathan was the heart and soul of the Chicago Bears defense for a long time, and for the first couple of years, Danny Trevathan was the absolute man. I absolutely love what Trevathan brought to this defense, but age and not being able to stay healthy is the big reason why Danny Trevathan is no longer a Chicago Bear. So I thank him for his time in Chicago. He was a great linebacker for us, but once again, this is just the start of retooling and rebuilding this roster to make it younger, faster, and get some guys in here that can stay healthy and contribute. The Bears are also actively shopping defensive lineman Eddie Goldman. This is also expected. I feel like if Eddie Goldman doesn't get traded, I think he will be released. Ryan Poles is not playing around. If we're able to trade him or cut him, they could save $8.8 million in cap space. So this is obviously a no-brainer for a team that is just trying to recoup on some cap space and just trying to rebuild this roster with young, faster talent, right? And Eddie Goldman, Tarik Cohen, and Danny Trevathan are the first of many moves to come. I still think that Cody Whitehair is on the chopping block. Robert Quinn could be on the chopping block. Eddie Jackson could be on the chopping block, and the list goes on and on. There's really no one that's safe on this roster outside of guys like Roquan Smith, Justin Fields, and Darnell Mooney. Everyone should be worried for their life because Ryan Poles has no loyalty to anyone on this roster. He is not the one that made this roster. He came in to fix Ryan Pace's mistakes, and that's exactly what he is doing. And I know there's a lot of Bears fans out there that were upset about us trading Khalil Mack, that may be upset with the moves to come. But this is what you have to do in order to basically say, you know what, this roster is nowhere near being a contender for a Super Bowl, which we all know that. That's not a surprise to us Bears fans. So I'm happy what Ryan Poles is doing. He's coming in, he's fixing Ryan Pace's mistakes, and he's going to craft his own roster that hopefully competes and contends for Super Bowls for years to come. And this is going to be a process. And like I've been thinking before this podcast, it's time to recoup and rebuild this roster. Obviously, if we're able to trade Eddie Goldman for maybe a mid-round draft pick, that would be great. But if not, we can save the money, $8.8 million. But it's time to recoup and rebuild this roster. And it's time to build around Justin Fields, which that's what Ryan Poles is trying to do. And I'm super excited to see how this all ends up for the Chicago Bears for years to come. So like always, Bears fans, how do you guys feel about the moves that Ryan Poles made today? And obviously, there is more to come. So I'm going to try my best to give you guys all the latest Bears news as they come right away. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media channels, and make sure you share this episode of Kick on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it